And we're live. Yes, Open Class Doodles, episode 43 is live and direct. Hopefully you can hear me well. It was a beautiful day. We had enough experience and a lot of crazy stuff to talk about today. And so we're slightly late. I apologize with everyone out there for kind of stepping in front of this beautiful camera. Of minutes late, but hey, here we are. It matters, right, that we are here. So welcome everybody to Open Class Doodles, episode 43. Hollywood has a problem, reshoots. And this is kind of becoming an epitome and in itself, and it's blocking a little bit of the industry. It's blocking the self-tape process, and it's creating more and more waves. And therefore, we're going to explore today what the reasons are, how we can adapt to this situation, what that matters for the future, and many other topics. So without any further ado, welcome everybody to the COACHMC studio. This is the place where we'll help you actors, performers, entertainers to really shape unique behavior deliveries and stand out in the audition room, no matter where the audition takes place, what you're auditioning for. It doesn't matter. It's about us, creative people, communicating our core value, artistic preposition in the most remarkable, most direct, and most impactful ways. And this is one of the shows that will hopefully help you to do so. So let's jump into today's episode and let's see what's cooking. Yes, and you know me by now. You know how it works over here at the COACHMC studio on Mondays for our open class gathering. We are always looking into the future. We try to spot future trends. We try to see how future markets will develop, what kind of industries are kind of, being born and blossoming up. On Tuesdays, we have Three Sages in a Time Machine, of course. Yesterday, we had a brilliant show, our biggest show so far, The Myth of Atlantis. Why don't you check it out? And on Thursdays, today, we're always kind of taking a look at present times, right? So it's future, past, and present throughout the week. And on Saturdays, you can catch me on Saturday Night Hypnosis, of course, being guest on Hypnotic's amazing show and, part of this incredibly funny panel. So just for being here already, why don't you smash the like button to, kind of value the preposition here and also showing the algorithm what you value the most. And by the end of this video, if you thought this information was somehow helpful and interesting and maybe even entertaining, oh my God, don't say so. Yes, then maybe you can share it with some people that you love as well and that you deem, need to kind of look at the stuff, right? And we have Mephisto X on the show. I love this white tiger as the profile picture, the white Siberian tiger, such a powerful animal. Hail coach and be very careful. People who have different ideas and the ability to critically think are the new enemy for sure. And you know what? Mephisto X, we should embrace that. That means we are already ahead of the pack whenever our ideas are creating contrast and conflict. And we know this from basically every great movie and every great comic book and every great romance or any great book, right? We need conflicts, right? We need always someone who kind of creates something and then he's in contrast with the status quo and he tries to change things. And therefore, this is the stuff that keeps us alive, that makes us improve. And yes, I better be an enemy. That means that's the seal of approval. If I'm deemed an enemy by an enemy, they know me. They know that I'm here, and that's great. That means that our ideas stand out. And so therefore, welcome to the band of enemies. Mephisto. Rosita, what's up? Thank you for being here. Hey, coach. I'm part of the bigger army and damn proud of it, Mephisto. Yeah, for sure. I'm super proud of it too. It's rolling, and yeah, this is just the logical continuation of all work that we do. And I'm really glad and grateful for you also showing up, Mephisto. Thanks so much, and thanks so much also to the Twitter crowd, to the Instagram crowd. To the people that are joining us later, make sure to leave a like I said, and let's jump into today's episode. Yes, it's dangerous stuff because I'm pointing out the obvious. And now I thought about giving you numbers and statistics and all that. But the thing is this, guys, the numbers are abysmal. They're very bad. It's, it's not necessarily we sit in front of a screen and then we can tell, oh, they lost so much, they lost so much, or they lost so much. We know the numbers. A lot of great channels like Will of the Fans is doing like a great work on Doctor Who. Words of Paradise is doing great work on other shows as well. Thank you so much. And the numbers are pretty clear. I'm not saying this out of, a personal reference here. We see, these networks losing a lot of money also on the stock market. Generally, the reviews, the ratings are abysmal, and there's a lot of controversy, and definitely the products that have been created nowadays are not kind of generating the type of enamourship that we used to have in the 90s, even in the beginning of 2000, right? Lord of the Rings is a good example, but some other good shows where, of course, think about also Puss in Boots. The second installment was a great movie. So there are definitely some good shows, some gems, some series that are shining through out of the confusion and this agglomerate of mediocrity that was kind of smudged into our face in the last 2.5 decades almost. But yeah, I mean, it's not about kind of giving you statistics and numbers. I want to take generally like a look at what is happening and what the problem is. And today we want to focus on the reshoots, right? We're hearing this basically every day. Every movie that has been greenlit and in the last couple of years that has a higher budget is undergoing severe reshoots sometimes, right? Whether that's Snow White, whether that's Blade, whether, you name it, Star Wars shows, the movies themselves, like we have the very, very prominent, very famous kind of back and forth, almost like an invisible fight between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, not so invisible because the products were visible to everyone, right? But we have a lot of these, reshoots, backstage wars that, in a way, always have been there, but now it is becoming like almost normality that we're facing all these reshoots all over the place, and Hollywood is slowing down productions because they can't seem to finish the movies, because all these big budget movies are undergoing massive reshoots 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, even 5 times, like to the point where the reshoots are almost as expensive as principal photography. Now get this. What is the reason for this? And what are, of course, the remedies to this, right? AKA good screen place, right? And how can we understand that for our products as well, if we are creators as well, if you need to change constantly what you are producing, if there's a need to kind of refurbish, improve it, and refix it all the time, right? This is like IKEA furniture that is very cheap. You always have to there's always something missing. You always have to, then it's not really good furniture. It kind of does the work. It's okay. It looks decent, but you want these products to be outstanding. You want to be enamored with them. You want to get something out of them. You want to be inspired by them. And the problem is, if you have multiple reshoots over an extended period of time, now we have Blade. It's a very, prominent example here that kind of started 2018, the development, 2019, I guess, and it still hasn't been finished. Think about Snow White, right? Due to controversy, bad screen tests and all that, constantly reshooting a material. Of course, you lose the spirit, you lose the drive, and it's hard to keep track of all the things that you changed and kind of bringing them all under one narrative dome over the course of multiple years. That's absolutely nonsense. And so as a 53-year-old, Mephisto says, right, old now in 2024, the 90s were a golden age. Yeah, now after 2000, it has descended into a 1984 dystopia that even the great philosophers could not imagine. Oh yes, that's so true. Perhaps as humanity deserve it because we tolerated it for sure, yes, and we tolerated it for too long. That's for sure as well. Of course, the thing is this. And I think Star Wars, the new Star Wars that came out, the female Star Wars, think about the first, I can't even remember the title, this J.J. Abrams, right, the New Hope with Rey and all that. And so that's probably a very good example. So the new Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars, the first movie that came out with Daisy, the main actress, right? It made a lot of money. I think it made over almost 2 billion. Is that possible? It made a huge amount of money, right? Because in the end, everybody was kind of looking forward to a new Star Wars era, right? After George Lucas had presented his Phantom Menace and all these movies that were so la la. Now, if we look at them, we think they're almost masterpieces. But nonetheless, we were kind of looking forward to a new Star Wars franchise, to a new Star Wars era. And even when Kathleen Kennedy kind of showed up with the female, the Force's female T-shirts, you know, during the Nike campaign, but we knew, of course, that she was kind of signaling something. But even with all the quote-unquote red flags, nobody was really kind of paying attention to, oh yeah, that's now a female character or anything like that. Like, everybody was just hyped for Star Wars, and when Star Wars came out, everybody was going to the theater, and that movie made a decent amount of money, as well as Rogue One, that had another female main character to it. But I think with Star Wars, we have a pretty good example, because what happened there is that, you know, due to the backstage wars that were going on, due to the, let's say, very controversial narrative route that they were going down with this new signature that was brought in by Kathleen Kennedy, due to the problems with the protagonists and the scripts, and due to the reshoots, these products became more and more watered down, more and more stained by agendas, more and more kind of torn apart, also story-wise, just to kind of, you know, check boxes and kind of fill in characters that weren't making any sense, and kind of twisting and distorting the stories to the point where we had an Obi-Wan Kenobi series, right, that all of a sudden featured, like, more prominently, like this female bad character that was de-villainized throughout the story. So all these twists and turns, reshoots, backstage wars, and kind of shaky narratives that were kind of weaved into the fabric of, let's say, Star Wars, right? Kind of, you know, brought us these products later on that in the end nobody wants to see anymore. And these reshoots that there are, you know, currently making all over the place. Again, think about the 70s or the 80s. As a director, if you were hired by the network system in the 70s, in the 80s, let's remember the Steven Spielberg story that was protected by George Lucas, because when Steven Spielberg shot the movie 48, Jim Belushi, he was about to get kicked out because he overextended principal photography by 178 days. Right, over 100 days for sure. Whether it's 178 or 128, I can't remember right now the exact number, but it was more than 100 days extension, right? That, you know, compared to what was actually in the budget for principal photography, and he was about to get kicked out from Hollywood, right? And it was George Lucas who kind of came in, saved the day for him, and said, I have a project that he can shoot, and I will survey him, I will surveil him, you know, personally. I will make sure that he won't deliver the movie late. And that movie was Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that movie was delivered 5 days prior to what was expected, right? So Steven Spielberg, from extending 128 days, he went to kind of being early 5 days. And that was the new mark, right? That was the new quality level for Hollywood. Being punctual, serving the movie on time, don't overextend on your budget, try to kind of keep principal photography as compact as possible. That was the thing. That was the new standard. Everybody was working according to that. And for a long time, that worked. Now, you see, these products, and I think we can't really kind of dissect the problem without looking at it holistically. There is no way. And I just want to catch up with all these beautiful comments from Mephisto before we go into the nitty-gritty. No, you don't have to keep it down, sir. You just shoot. I love the way that you're commenting. Your mind is rolling, and I love conversation and dialogue. We're here also for that. It's not just for me delivering some sort of monologue. So definitely shoot me up whatever you have in your crazy mind. Yes. So perhaps, yes, we tolerated it for too long. That was your last. You're right about that. I know deep down that sounds extremist. Yes. What is extremist? Extremist means to finally understanding that there is a pole. Right? Politics, it's the position. It's the position of a pole. A pole can be just on one side, on one extreme. So if you want to declare everything that is extreme negative, like some are doing, right, in order to kind of devalue your argument, or kind of silence you right from the start, of course, that you can do. But we know we are not from that side of the pole. We are the dangerous ones. We are the new ones. We are the free thinking ones. We are the kind of, and you know, the awakening ones, right? All these ings that we are kind of lead us to in a position that is, you know, standing antagonistically to what the value proposition is right now, right? from the status quo, from the system. And if we are opposed to that, yes, then we are extremists. But that just means that we are on the other side, on the other part of the spectrum. Some lefty communist cult member will declare that what I just said was extremist. Yeah, for sure. Yes, absolutely. And maybe I'm just that one guy who keeps his arm folded while everyone else gives a certain salute. Hey, has you seen that image, Coach? Yes, I've seen that image too. I've lived in a country where that actually happened. And so I had to kind of live through that as well, even though I'm not, I wasn't born there, right? And there was a group of radical directors who made independent movies back in the 70s. They gave us great movies. Exactly. And we will talk about that, like I just touched upon, because that's really important to understand. Starting with Apocalypse Now, yes. And the making of that movie is kind of telling us everything. If you study how, so there is Into the Heart of Darkness, there is a documentary about how Apocalypse Now was actually shot. And that documentary is probably better than the movie itself, right? It's like almost like the backstage material from Lord of the Rings, where I personally, I'm such a geek. I'm an artist myself. I'm a drawer, and I love illustrations. When I look at what they have done as backstage material, that to me is the best backstage material I've ever received in a DVD. And that movie that was shot about the B-roll of Lord of the Rings is actually better than Lord of the Rings. So that documentary is absolutely great. And To the Heart of Darkness, which explains how Apocalypse Now was made. No worries, Coach. Maybe I should lower it down a little bit. But then isn't that what they want to tone it down? Yes, exactly. Don't ever tone it down. Always bring it on. Don't worry. Yes, exactly. That's what they want. They want us to be conformed, to be mediocre, to accept everything. So again, coming back to the fact that one of the reasons Hollywood right now, why work is missing, and we see this as acting coaches as well, we have less self-tapes, we have less auditions, we have less castings all over the place, that's for sure. Why? Because people are not finishing their movies. So it's a problem if you can't finish a movie to, process, produce, and kind of green light the next project and start with the pre-production or principal photography of the next project if you are still occupied and busy shooting your first movie. And I have the special collector's edition of Apocalypse Now and sort of The Heart of Darkness Now. Yes, that stuff. I mean, that movie. There you had a director with an artistic vision, with an obsession, with a controlled obsession of realizing that artistic vision, that was surrounded by like-minded crazy folks and visionary people that were tuned into his vision, and they did everything they could, right, to support that, where everybody was working on just fleshing out the best product. Apocalypse Now, of course, was a movie that was delivered way too late and that had to undergo several reshoots, but that wasn't due to unfinished plot lines or some sort of agendas that needed to be written in, or production notes that were handed down all the time, basically every day on an hourly basis. That was due to the fact that he was shooting in a country, mainly the Philippines, where there was a civil war going on, and some of the equipment sometimes kind of, just went missing, or some of the helicopters had to kind of shoot down enemies in the north, and then had to come back, so you couldn't use them for some scenes. Or sometimes just Marlon Brando was going on a rampage with some indigenous people that were underaged on a tree while he was doing drugs. Ding dong. That could have been the reason as well. But these were artistic problems that were, kind of popping out because of the development, not because there was some political reasons that needed to be fulfilled, or any status quo that needed to be kind of observed in order to kind of make the 0.1% happy. No, it was about kind of, developing the movie, no matter where the movie was going, and following the characters wholeheartedly and blindly into that. Just why everyone feeling that Hypno needs to do a coach raid. Yes, absolutely. It's just us right now. I also didn't really, even though people should know, but I think what sometimes is the problem on Thursdays is it's 3 p.m. And so people are used to my 6 p.m. pattern. So maybe that's that. And also the fact that today I was so busy with clients that I couldn't properly promote our beautiful endeavors here, our life endeavors. And if you don't tell people constantly that you're there, they forget you. They just simply forget you. It's not fair. Why I keep no? All right. Little joke here. No, there was something else, and also the Gulag Archipelago. Yeah, whichever more than 1984. Yes, 1984 is pretty terrifying, but we actually have 1984 already. Remember, 1984 is due to the fact it was chosen by George Orwell, Eric Blair, because that was the 100th anniversary of the Fabian Society, right? That was founded 1884, and that was his final warning because he was part of that society. So he knew their sinister plans, and he knew that if they would survive 100 years, this is how the world would look like. So that's why he called the movie, the book, 1984. Yes. So people from all over the globe, right? Whether you're on Twitter, on Instagram, come over to YouTube. Let's show Hypno that we don't need his rates, right? Join us here live on YouTube right now. It's the COACHMC studio. And you know, come over to Mephisto. Otherwise, he needs to type all the time. That would be just a shame. Even though I enjoy also a bit more intimate and private conversations, join us. Come over, guys. It's YouTube, right? Get your account, enter the madness, leave a like, and be part of the conversation. And also, you know, kind of, you know, see the other beautiful visitors and panel members that we also have on the show, and go to their channels and check them out and subscribe to them as well. It's fun over here. Believe me, this is the new standard. This is the new performance economy, right? This is the new creative community, unfortunately, or maybe it's good that way, right? It was meant that way. Yes. So Apocalypse Now is a good example. It's also a bad example. It's a good example also because it shows that with the right dedication and the right patience and the consistency and the commitment. I mean, basically, Francis Ford Coppola, what he did, he was flying back and forth, LA, Manila, Philippines, the capital. Then there is a government capital, which is Quezon City. He was flying back and forth all the time, kind of selling stuff from his estate in California in order to produce a couple of minutes of this movie. And this is how he kind of went on all the time, right? In order to kind of finish this beautiful project. But yes, after the 70s, after these wild guys were kind of, you know, kind of squashed in a little bit more into a regular system, because some of these people were, of course, overextending the budgets and principal photography for, you know, reasons, for various reasons. And in the 80s, you know, they sort of started becoming a bit more moderate, a bit more rational, and their approach to their work, a little bit more discipline, a little bit less addicted to all sorts of enhancement drugs. And so therefore they could actually finish their movie in time. Like Steven Spielberg being the most prominent example, who went from overextending principal photography on the movie 48 for 1948 for I think over 128 days, and then kind of, you know, delivering the material way earlier with Indiana Jones, the first installment. And that showed that it is possible. It is possible to create great entertainment and at the same time being on schedule, right? And so what we're seeing right now is, again, a complete drop off, right? It's hey, what's up? Somebody listen to you, Mephisto. Look at this, right? We have Ravenwolf here joining us. Hey, what's up, my man? Good having you. Yeah, and these reshoots now that we have, they are a symptom. Yeah, they're a symptom for an epidemic, right? For a pandemic that is way, way worse than the so-called C virus, right? Sup amigos, everyone checked out the New Norm Show. The New Norm Show, I like that. Hey, Vincent, what's up? Hey, we are the New Norm Show, but in a good way. Not the way they told us a couple of years ago. Oh, it's the new model. It's the new modern. It's the new way now. The new standard. We all need to run around with masks and kind of greet each other with an elbow and just living behind plexiglass. Yeah. That was the new normal. No, that's not what we mean. We mean the new norm. The new norm means that new normality means that we finally admit that, in a way, there is no way out, right? And so the only way to really survive and have fun in this is to thrive creatively with whatever you do and kind of enjoying this ride with your collective. And nowadays we have the means, the technologies, and the possibilities to have collectives that don't necessarily live in our town anymore, in our building. They're not part of our neighborhood anymore. They are part of our digital neighborhood. They are part of our online community. They are part of our little clusters of entertainment that we entertain with with all these different, interesting pockets of performance, of creativity, of art, of controversy, right? This is how we now put entertainment together. And I think this is a big trend that also the big networks missed out on. I mean, they started understanding this with the streaming services and kind of, trying to customize them to insert music and podcasts and all sorts of, other products. But the thing is, it's always this, it's them buying and producing and then offering it to us. And when we start to criticize it, we, the fans, the people who made these IP first and who made them big in the first place. And I don't want to always underline this, but it seems like a ludicrous concept to say the fans that are daring to criticize, rightfully so, after we supported, we financed, we talked, we made these products, these IPs big in the first place, and now all of a sudden you're deviating from that course, you're deviating from the canon, you're changing completely what we once loved, and then we dare to criticize it, and then you call us racists, extremists, right? You call us whatever ists we are in order to kind of, devalue our argument. Instead of doing that, what you actually did in the 70s, and you actually listened to your audience. In the 60s, in the 70s, the Hollywood networks, the Hollywood system was broke. It was down. It was almost gone and lost forever. And they were starting to listening only then to what we actually had to say. We told the studio system back then, hey, enough with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton in costumes and 3 tons of makeup. Enough with these super expensive mega budget productions that were all stiff and not really authentic, right? Give us real entertainment, give us real lives, give us authentic cinema. And Hollywood reacted to that. They flew out to Europe. They looked at European cinema. They looked at Japanese cinema. They looked at Asian movies, and they said, what's different in a French movie rather than to an American movie? What's different in a Korean movie rather than to an American movie? There, you don't see these big studio production sets. You don't see these big makeup, costume. Yeah, of course, you have Chinese stories and Japanese stories, Akira Kurosawa, where you have epic sets. But the way it was shot, it was authentic, it was natural, it was realistic, it was very close to a human relation, to an emotion that we could relate with. It wasn't about agendas or any type of political derivatives, right? It was a hyper condensed and a hyper magnified view of a dramatic story, and kind of like with a magnifying glass, these directors kind of packed with all that knowledge that they gathered all around the world, mainly in Asia and Europe. They came back to Hollywood and said, all right, this is the new way we're going to shoot movies. Let's look for directors that can interpret this new style, right? And so the studios then kind of, approach people like Stanley Kubrick, like Martin Scorsese, like George Lucas, like Peter Bogdanovich, like Brian De Palma, and so on and so forth, like Francis Ford Coppola. And they asked him, like, how can we do that, right? And people like Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda, they brought the movies. They brought Easy Rider. They brought Apocalypse Now. They brought THX 1138. They showed them that this is what they can do. And then more and more we're coming to this new narrative, and this is how the new system was born. It was born because we, the fans, right? Will of the fans is right here, right? They're always on my mind when I say that now. But yeah, we changed the system. We reprogrammed them, and we told them what we want to see, and they obeyed to our wishes. And guess what? We were coming back to the movies. We were coming back to the theater. And the 70s and the 80s later on, they were like peak of, kind of box office hits, right? We made incredible money. I have, and it looks like we also got the address, the right. And our sphere, the non-leftist, also guilty of making bad art too. Yes, of course. You could say the new Norm show was so pathetic and it made Mr. Bertram look good. I can't even differentiate two from each other. Yes, I know what you say. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, you're right. Yes. No, but I think Hollywood right now, on Thursdays, I love to kind of look at Hollywood, right? We talked about the strike. And here's a little strike update also. There are more and more Teamsters who came to agreement with the new umbrella contract that is being forged right now for the IATSE, Teamsters, and all the other people that are, kind of, the talent behind the camera, basically, the crews and all these essential people. And it seems like we're coming to an end with these negotiations. And so far, it looks good. Most probably there won't be a strike this year again. Also because I don't believe the studio networks are gonna allow a new strike. They know this is gonna break their neck definitely. And I think the reason why they went in, why Netflix and all these people allowed these strikes to happen in the first place, the auto strike with joining with the actors, was because they felt so sure about the streaming services. They felt like so much like in the safe saddle, right? We got this. We are in our seat. We can't really lose this battle. And so they went into the strike. And of course they won. AI won the game. We've analyzed this. But I also, I love to look to have my Thursday look on Hollywood, because Hollywood in itself, of course, it's it's LA, it's that, but it's also, we're living in a holographic universe, right? Everything is fractionalized, and in that fraction we can see the completion of the whole system. So even in a minuscule detail, we can see how the whole system sometimes behaves, and therefore it's a good litmus test. It's a good petri dish, right? Hollywood stands for a bigger ecosphere, of course. So when we are mostly looking on to Hollywood on a Thursday, it's because the impulses that the entertainment industry has given us so far, the new technology, of course, from Silicon Valley. California has been so influential in the development of the world stage, and somehow we can reflect ourselves and what's happening also in the whole entertainment world, because of what we see in Hollywood. So this is why we're looking in Hollywood on Thursday so many times, because in a way we can decipher so much what's going on also on the minor scales all over the globe. And it's true, when they started again derailing like Dragon Slayer commentaries from their initial idea of budget, of production, of storytelling, when they started kind of inserting more and more of these agendas, this is when these movies started bombing. That's exactly the moment when these movies stopped being entertaining. That's exactly the moment when the audience started kind of staying away from movie theaters, because they were more and more disappointed about the products. And this is also why I believe in the end they were actually happy about the first strike. They were happy because they thought, oh, this is actually a good moment. Let's test out all our streaming products that we have so far. Let's see how they go. If they go well, we don't need these writers, these actors anymore. We can produce our own stuff, continue with these stories, and kind of recycle them ad infinitum, right? Perpetually. We just change them and kind of tweak them here and there. And this is exactly what they did. They really fell for their own theory. They thought they could kind of, get away with it, but just continuously recycle and reshooting this stuff. This is why we hear these constantly. I hear reboot, reshoot, a retail, reinvention, a refurbishment, a reinstall, re. Movies are not re. We are not always reing when we're shooting a movie, when we're creating a movie scene, when we're writing a poem, when we're writing a song. We are imagining something new. New is the imperative word. But somehow Hollywood is afraid of the new. Isn't that funny? Like, this is all they need to do to invent new stuff. Of course, quote unquote. It's difficult, sure. But hey, a $1 billion studio. Your job is to be new. And yet, what is it that you do? You do reshoots. You do reboots. You do sequels, you do reinventions, right? And reimagining characters. You do multiverse where you kind of repurpose the characters, repurpose the canon. And so far, that's a tragedy. We're seeing tragedies. Sorry, I had to pop out for sausages and bubble and squeak. Classic English meal. Hey, respect to that. It's just like it kind of reminds me of a Sherlock Holmes tale, right? We see those Irish taverns or Scottish taverns somewhere in the Highlands. They are foggy and misty, and the only thing that you have is like a piece of sausage and a strong ale, right? These are the pictures that I like to see. And then, you know, the genius, the sophisticated, arrogant, slightly cocky, you know, master detective from London comes in into this muddy and kind of dark Game of Thrones type of place and kind of solves the case. I love the contrast here. Ciao Lorenzo, Laura Culò. Un abbraccio forte dall'Italia, in bocca al lupo per tutto. Io e la mia amica Serena ti seguiamo sempre, ti auguriamo sempre il meglio. Grazie mille. Pum, 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 pum. Back now. Which could be dangerous. Of course, I love danger as well. That's true. Looks where it's going to need more competitions against Hollywood, Winsinger says. Yes, competition always animates our juices of survival. And somehow, look at this. I mean, isn't this what you're saying? What you're saying is perfectly kind of, you know, weaving into this. Every remake has felt a crossable remake. That's another beautiful word. Yes, because if you have communists, let's say communists, that dictate a certain standard that can't be exceeded because the norm has to be squashed in the standard, no one has to feel bad about himself, not trying to achieve anything and keeping everybody in his lazy cage of constraint all the time, then of course it is important to keep a low quality level. And so everything that is new, everything that is imagined, and everything that is competition kind of speaks against that principle, because competition stimulates our juices of survival. It stimulates to kind of set ourselves apart. And yet, what is happening right now? We're seeing for almost 2.5 decades that not only Hollywood, pretty much everyone, right? The new propaganda system, the World Economic Forum, all these think tanks, these Bill Gates, and all these books from these so-called smart people, the experts. Oh God, how I love this term. The experts are telling us, oh, competition is inherently fascist. What? Yes, yeah, because you want to dominate, yes, and then it will go so far that you will create a new gas chamber and put your friends in there because you don't want to compete against them anymore. Yes, sure, this is how it happens, because I compete, all of a sudden I kill, right? That's your equation. This is how simple they want to break down civilization to us. Don't compete, stay lazy, stay mediocre, stay in your cage of constraint, and don't dare to look out and try to improve your life, try to improve your character, try to improve something, try to add a new skill, because, hey, that could lead to you building gas chambers. That makes perfect sense. That this is the equation nowadays. You can't excel, right? You can't be better. Yeah, you have to stay normalized. You have to stay in the norm, so I can calculate how much taxes you will pay, and then everything will be fine. Of course, I'm being slightly polemical here, but you get my point. What I'm trying to bring across is that no one has been killed because of competition, right? The term itself, to compete, is to be in there in the circle of life. And if we look at nature, if we look at the development of our flora and fauna, it's all out of competition. The world itself, it's no coincidence that we are here, even though, of course, they want to tell us that it's all a coincidence, or it's just a rock that's hot inside, and then it's just a coincidence. No, I mean, the fact that we are here is because we're competing. Nature is competing against each other. The cells are competing against each other. Everything on the build-up from the first single cellular organism that we have to a human body that contains trillions and trillions of cells. Actually, all of our cells, if we would stack them all on top of each other, and like a pearl necklace, right? Just one cell after the other, we could, wrap around this pearl necklace 5 million times around planet Earth. And now you want to tell me competition is not important? Yes. It takes creativity, and more importantly, Mephisto X tells us imagination. Exactly. I don't think any of this current generation are allowed to be creative as they grew up in gated communities. Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem. You want to sacrifice creativity for the sake of safety. Yeah, and that's never a good choice. Think about it. Hollywood is the literal concept of do as you are told. Don't think. Do as you are told. Bend the knee and do as you are told. Maybe do as you are told, right? Same would be said, Winsinger says, the potential competition against stuff outside of Hollywood that better than Hollywood. Yes, I mean, a lot of if you look at the Asian productions, action movies, also from India, Triple R. I mean, leave the slightly gayish bromance aside, was a great movie. I mean, it's an incredible movie. It's really like breathtaking. The first 20 minutes of Triple R are just like, all right, if this continues this way, this is the new standard, right? This is the new norm again. We need competition, we need creativity, and we need that imagination to drive us sometimes also to a place where we, yes, we fail and do mistakes and make some terrible choices in terms of course, without hurting anyone, but terrible choices artistically. I mean, look, is it Michael Jordan who said, yeah, I missed 90,000 points, or I missed 5,000 of my shots, or I missed 56% of all my shots, right? That kind of paints the picture. The greatest basketball player of all time is Michael Jordan, not LeBron James, respectfully. Maybe Kobe Bryant after Michael Jordan, but not LeBron James, right? So he claims that he actually failed almost half the time during his career. So that means that throughout the failure, he learned all the necessary information. He learned all the necessary lessons, right, in order to win next time. So a creator must fail. An artist should be allowed to make mistakes and to kind of reach out for something that sometimes is out of his reach, and kind of stumbling and kind of falling down and kind of, you know, getting hurt in the process, and understanding, all right, that was too much of a stretch. Let's try next time, and try to kind of improve until I get there to the final destination. Now, the imperative word here is patience. The problem nowadays with Hollywood and these reshoots is that these studio executives getting younger and younger, and more arrogant, and less educated and skilled in the way of what a film actually is and filmmaking is, and getting more and more educated on the finance side of things. Like, this is the marketing cost, this is what it should produce, this is what it should make, and then we have pretty much a break even here and there, and this is fun enough. No, they don't have that type of patience anymore. They don't see the end product anymore. They don't have that long-term vision. And this is where we come in, and this is where I feel like that's something that I would love to kind of, you know, give to you today, guys, is like, what is it that we can learn? The problem here is what Hollywood is also facing, you know, besides, of course, the, you know, slightly devilish takeover, is that they have lost patience with themselves, with their development, with educating the artist to be an artist in the first place, and then kind of releasing him into the project. If you go to film schools now, if you go to drama school right now, it's like you hear a lot of stuff that is really nonsense, right? That shouldn't be there. And there is no practical approach anymore. Everything is like so dissected and so antiseptic, and everything is so political correct that you don't get hands-on approach anymore, right? Whether it's for the improv where actors are not allowed to touch without a coordinator or some crazy stuff like that. It's like, you know, the immediate, the interactiveness and the ruggedness of the creation has been taken away. It's like THX 1138, right? Where we have this, yeah, it is based on Brave New World in 1984. So therefore the movie perfectly demonstrates what I'm talking about. Everything is kind of not allowed anymore. Everything is white. Everything is the same. Nobody can touch. It's, you know, everything could be contagious. There's a funny episode. I think I can talk about this without hurting anyone. The other day, I had a pretty known actor calling in for a self-tape. He was visiting. Usually he lives in LA. He was visiting. He was in Miami. And he called me up and say, I need to shoot a self-tape. And he's like, sure, come around. And like I said, he was in really, like, if I would tell you the name, probably you wouldn't know him immediately. But if I would show you the face, it's like, ah, that's him. He was in a lot of, you know, very good movies and great productions. And And that day, we have rain season right now in Miami and beautiful Florida. It kind of rains, right? And we have those blasts for these showers, very intense. Half an hour later, it's all gone, right? And so he called up and said, "Can I come over?" He's like, "Sure, come over." And then I texted him in a funny way. He's like, "Hey, and don't forget to bring your rain boots or your flip-flops, right? But don't worry, we have towels available." So what I mean by that is in Miami, especially in South Beach, when it rains a lot, right, you can see streets being flooded, right? You get also your alert on your cell phone, and it can happen that some entrances to the buildings are sometimes a little bit underwater and that you have to kind of walk through this puddle of water, right? So for any Miami people, this is like a normal fact. It's nothing sensational. It just happens during, I would say, throughout June, July, August, right? For 3 months straight, it kind of rains heavily and kind of this happens, right? And so, and he wasn't responding to my message. And then he showed up and his Uber, he didn't even lower the window. He just called me on the phone. It's like, how do I get into the building? It was like, by walking, my friend. Yeah, and like I told you, yeah, you probably need rain boots or flip-flops. Just, get your trousers up. Don't worry, we go up. We have towels. We got you covered. We are full-fledged studio. Things like that happen. And he was like, "I'm not really sure I should do this." Like, what do you mean? It's just a little bit of water. Don't you want to shoot your self-tape? It's like, yes, but if I step into the water, maybe I can cut my feet and maybe can get infected, and then it gets a serious health issue. And I can understand, sure. I mean, yes, theoretically that can happen, and it's not for judging or anything, but I swear to you, I started 35 years ago, and back then, I would have done and I still almost am ready to do almost anything in order to shoot, because it's beautiful to shoot. It's beautiful to act. It's just one of the greatest things that you can do as an artist. No one, not rain, not snow, not whatever type of cataclysm could hold me back from shooting a cool scene, from having the opportunity to work with a cool creator. I'm a cool creator. Come on, I'm the coach. All right. And so, no, but jokes aside, right? There is just this thing called spirit. I don't care about getting hurt when I'm on set. I don't even think about my health, which is not the best thing, I know. But in the way, this is the dedication that art needs from you, my friend. And so him not even lowering the window and just telling me, "No, I'm sorry, I have to cancel the appointment. I don't feel comfortable with walking through water." And it's literally like, Uber, boardwalk, entrance to my building, everything flooded, but not like, okay, meter high waves or anything. Yeah, it's just, you get wet, get your shoes off, get into my building, we clean this up, and then we shoot a self-tape. We have fun, drink a coffee, and that's all it. And then you will remember this episode forever, and probably would have also booked the role, I promise you, because usually these occasions is when we are at our best, when it's not fucking comfortable, when we are somehow pressed to get out of our comfort zone. This is usually when we are at our best, because all of a sudden we lower down our guard, we get vulnerable, and we have to deal in a humorous way with the situation that is at hand. And it's not always perfect and tidy and teeny like in 1984. It's rugged and raw, and it's right there. This is life. So me, of course, I would have stepped out of the car, get over. Yeah, it's like, get through this puddle of water, laugh about it, and shoot an amazing self-tape. And reshoots also happening because of these type of actors, because they get pampered too much, because film schools are not really preparing them. They're giving them all sorts of reason why not to do that, instead of reinforcing the very spirit to do it in the first place. What the fuck is going on? I'm sorry. Now I have to catch up with the chat. I lost myself a little bit on this rant, but it's, you get the point, right? That's also a reason why we're not successful as a movie industry anymore, because we got too comfortable, too scared, and too afraid, and too tiki, teeny. This is not how it works, guys. The dirt keeps the funk. James Jamerson Jr., greatest bass player of all time. He has recorded more #1 hits. Get this. James Jamerson Jr. recorded more #1 hits than Beach Boys, Elvis Presley, Rolling Stones, and the Beatles combined. More #1 hits were accompanied, right, by this incredible bass player, James Jamerson Jr. one of the most successful musicians of all time. What does he say? He says, or he said, the dirt keeps the funk. If you lose the dirt, you lose your soul. So, where are we? Yeah, freedom of self-determination. No, there was something before Mephisto. I'm sorry. As war was fought 80 years ago to stop this from happening, now look, there we are. There where we are. Yes, there are at least 2 generations embracing it, both in the US, EU, and UK. Yes, because they're all led by the same group of people. That's true. Yeah, freedom of self-determination, freedom of expression. I learned from Star Trek. Yes. Absolutely. TOS and TNG. It's worth fighting for. Absolutely. That's so true. I mean, you're pointing also at something. And I know this sounds kind of silly, but I'm not afraid of admitting this. Like, I've learned through TV and movies. Like, I've learned a lot. Not only historical stuff, but like to look at things from these moral perspectives, especially Star Trek, is like always kind of see yourself in the perspective of someone who still needs to catch up with the development. Would you interfere or not? That's such a huge and important question of Star Trek. The moment they left this, they left the soul. They left the Star Trek is not Star Trek anymore because they don't care about that intervention anymore. And that made such a huge point and such a huge difference because every show was a question about a deep-seated moral issue, which is like for a little kid to watch is like really interesting to kind of start tinkering about this stuff, right? It was really inspiring. You could really learn from these series back then, for sure. Exactly, which means that said potential competition also needs to compete against other stuff outside of Hollywood that is better than like anime, manga, and Asian entertainment. For sure. Yes. Or you can, they'll take you white man's money, but you won't get anywhere. Yes. I don't know. He does. Oh man, I lost a lot of, no, here, that's the next, no, so to make it chronologically sense. I'm sorry, guys. Vincinger says, the potential competition that I'm talking about are Daily Wire, Chicano Hollywood, Avenida Productions, and all the other indie and alternative creators and entertainment creators doing that. Ripperverse, for example, not erotic, yes. Hypnotic, the people that are creating all sorts of content, yes, for sure. If they do, they'll start to wonder why anime, manga, and Asian entertainment is becoming more successful. Yes, that because they're faithful to their canon, and they're always concerned about what the audience actually wants to see, and kind of fulfilling their promise. Or they take your white man, but you won't get anywhere. Yes, yeah. Actually, walking actually helps. That's true. Or walking is now considered. Yes, for sure. Hey, you know what? This is, I can't find it right now on Twitter, but I actually read that somewhere that, taking a long walk is actually a right-wing thing to do, right? Because it's, because it's somehow, it's crazy. Human spirit, our civilization was built upon it. Yes. It was brutally honest, but it worked for me as a young 70s kid. Yes, of course, for me as well. I mean, I'm a bit younger than you, but definitely the way I was brought up also in drama school. Guys, it was really tough. Like, yeah, it was tough. It was brutal. The competition was brutal. Being a drama school, being on stage so early and feeling that competition, of course, it left some emotional scars, bada boom, bada bum. So what? It was necessary for me to learn all these things and learn that there are people better than me. And if I want to survive in this industry and make money in this industry, or kind of, entertaining this idea or this beautiful wish, this desire of making a living out of art, out of being an actor, then I had to somehow catch up with that level of performance, of that quality. And so I had to ask myself, what is missing? And yes, of course, you're going through a dark phase where you say, oh, I'm not good enough. Yeah, where you're playing a Jesuit monk for a while, or you're just denigrating the whole industry, or kind of denouncing everything, or you bail acting, but then you come back to it. It's always like that, right? We sometimes need to lose the very thing that we love the most in order to understand how much we actually appreciate it. Ding dong. Vincinger, it's okay, I understand, since the play safe stuff needs to stop. It absolutely needs to stop. Well, enemy taught me how value hard work and never. Yes, absolutely. And Mephisto, same here, coach. Whether it was Space 99 or Star Trek or DS9, Babylon 5, absolutely, yes. Even Battlestar Galactica had very cool ideas in terms of, you know, how they were thinking, the Cylons were thinking, and us humans were thinking. Already there we saw this you know, this epic clash between, you know, robots and that dark entity that controls them against human spirit and imagination and creativity. I do a lot of Ravenwolf says, Reverend Ravenwolf says, I do a lot of content, but mainly reactionary, especially to Doctor Who and Star Wars. That's fine. That's fine. If look, there is nothing bad than nothing bad about, I think, like reacting to stuff that somehow insults you, and kind of understanding where this comes from, and at the same time with that reaction entertaining other people to have provocative thoughts about that and to be entertained also. So to me, that's not necessarily like a creative act, but if you want to break down what creativity is, what is it in the end? It's promoting your stuff, creating content, thinking about what could be interesting. That's creativity in itself as well. So as long as we have a process where we are authentic about what we do and we are really just reacting, because acting is reacting, right? It's a chain reaction that gets, you know, set off by our reaction. And as long as that is motivated by an authentic, a genuine, like by a good thought, right? But something that is ultimately that should serve a greater purpose, then to me that's fine. I think art needs to serve, like human beings, like man especially, we have to serve. We have to serve a purpose, otherwise we lose our spirit. And art needs to serve and needs to inspire and needs to convey also ideas. So in the broader scope, what we're doing is very creative, and there's nothing to say against that. And also, we have that beautiful gift nowadays that we can, you know, keep the art that is coming out of all sorts of venues, all these channels that, you know, propose all sorts of products to us. We have now the ability, and this is why they hate this so much and why they want to suppress internet and kind of cut us off and kind of censor programs and cancel creators, because we as a network have the, you know, this incredible opportunity to reach out to each other, connect with each other, talk with each other, and then kind of sharing the same ideas and kind of understanding our values in the process while looking at something, right? While judging, observing, and criticizing something. That's very powerful. Again, this is what communism hates, right? This is why art is always under the rule of communism. You need to have art being declared art by the system and not by the artist. And this is the fallacy where all these, what I call them left wing, I don't know why left or right wing, everything that is an ism in the end is control, is censorship, and is limitation of liberty. And that's why the only system that works is not an ism, but it's democracy, right? Even if it's like not a perfect system, it still gives you the ability to express yourself. And that's why it's so powerful. That's why communism hates us so much, because we're believers. The COACHMC studio, please tell me you're joking about. Yeah, no. I'm not joking. I really read that on Twitter. I thought I was going insane. I think I even mentioned it in the chat on our Saturday night. I'm not sure. There was literally this girl making the argument that kind of walking and taking a walk is right wing because it's somehow it's authoritarian, and it was ludicrous. I couldn't really listen like very accurately to it because I was laughing so hard. But yes, I was actually serious about that. What is BSG? Battlestar Galactica? Yeah, sure. Which reminds me, have you heard about the far left being upset about Latino men being too macho, masculine? So they have a problem with a man being a man? It's interesting. Yeah, Mephisto, both the original 90 and 2003 remake, both in their own ways are classic. I agree. I love the remake was great. I think the first 3 seasons were absolutely, like the first 2-3 seasons were absolutely fantastic. I kind of devoured them. Then they kind of left a little bit, but I liked it a lot. No. Reverend Ravenwolf, but also write. You write. What do you write? Writing is awesome. The ultimate expression of creativity. The written word trumps everything. Oh, yes, I agree. Sometimes I have clients, and with myself, it's the same thing, only that I express it differently, where we hit like sometimes, yeah, a wall, like a creative wall where it really doesn't, and that's, you can also call it a high quality plateau where, you kind of stagnate for a while on a high quality plateau. And usually people, they get freaked out, right? Because it's like going into the gym. In the beginning, you have pretty quick and pretty noticeable progress, right? You see your muscles kind of building up pretty quickly. And then you hit that plateau, and nothing really seems to happen for the next couple of months. And this is when people start to freak out. Yeah, it's not worth it. I canceled my subscription. I knew it. I'm not built for that. I don't have the right genetics, whatever ludicrous self-talk that they have then. And it's the same thing with creativity, right? At a certain point, people, whether it's a musical instrument or it's their performance or it's their paintings, they hit this creative plateau and they freak out when that happens. And usually what I recommend is write. And then they usually answer, but what should I write about? And it's like, exactly that. Whatever you feel in that moment, write it down. Just write it down. Like I always say this, even, to my seasoned actors, always print out your stuff, right? Always have paper. Never look on that fucking screen if it's not really necessary, right? Try to avoid the screen as much as you can. Always print your stuff out. So also the tactile feeling, it's just super important for your brain, right? They want flat surfaces so we get more stupid, because if you're, kind of excluding the tactile feeling from the human experience, there will be less and less synaptic connections being created in your brain. So tactile feeling is important to stay smart. If you kind of eliminate everything that has resistance, you eliminate the very foundation, the very process that makes you intelligent. So this is why they want to flatten everything out. They literally flatten your brain when they do that. So always print out your stuff, right? The tactile feeling is important. So the moment you write down stuff, you write it out of your brain. Even if it's something so mundane and something so, just like, I feel bad right now because I don't know what to write. Write that. Or I'm hitting a creative plateau. I feel like I'm stagnant. I can't really move right now. I feel like I'm in a quick swamp, whatever. Like, write that down. The moment you write it down, you write it away. You kind of extract it from your brain. What was the show where you could, I think it is Harry Potter, right? Where the memory is kind of, it's been taken out by the baton, right? And not Gandalf, Dumbledore, right? He takes that out, right? It's a thread. The moment you write down, it's there on the paper. It doesn't belong to you anymore. Now it can be observed. So writing really is everything. It kind of moves the juices. It kind of accelerates the creative process. There is something called creative incubation. This is something that Hollywood is missing. Creative incubation is when you produce something and then you just sit there and you look at it and you write about it and you observe it and you kind of think about it. You just give yourself time to reflect about what you're doing. And then you kind of put it away and then you do something completely different. Tiger Woods famously said that in his free time he plays tennis. He doesn't play golf. So he can incubate mentally about how to improve his golf swing by doing something completely different. So that mental incubation time happens in the moment when you write stuff down and then you observe it and you leave it and you kind of trust your brain that it will fill the gaps, that it will continuously improve the product, that you subconsciously, even while you sleep, you already are fixing the problem, right? Trust yourself, have that confidence, write it down. That's such an important part of the creative process. Yes, we are still reading books written thousands of years ago from the ancient Greeks. Well, they're copies, but yes, technically I know what you mean. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I don't want government or no political sides to control art. Yeah, that's the problem. When they control art, they control the tendencies on how you should feel. It was a girl who said, yes, that's true. Yes, art needs to be free. Exactly. If art isn't free, we aren't as well. Yeah. The remake of BSG was brutally honest. It went down maybe too much of a deep end. Yeah, but it was still good. Just go with it. Yeah, no, I agree. I know what you mean. Yes, probably, yeah. And the moment they settled on the planet, it became so honest, and it was like it became something different. And I couldn't, even though I didn't necessarily dislike some of the episodes on the planet that were more stationary when they added. Then true, I probably still should give it a go with the other season. But I felt like it was kind of stagnant a little bit, and kind of it didn't drive me as much. I love to see it in in space. But yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah. Reverend Ravenwolf. I do fiction, nonfiction, but my specialty is history. Yeah, specialty is history. That's a rhyme. The COACHMC studio could be argued that YouTubers are a new phase of creative expression. Maybe it's not written down on paper, but the videos will hopefully last forever. Yeah. And it's written in a way that, of course, it's written, right? We hear the sound, but some of us, of course, create script sometimes. But yeah, it's a different writing. It's a vocal writing. True. Yes, that's very important. Something that I never do. I'm doomed. Ding dong. And let me just take this little 1 hour break right now, just to kind of remind you to gently, very gently, smash the like button, right? Just push that little thing and show the algorithm what makes ring ring in your upper thing. So the next time they will bring more content like this, and you will swing from one video to the other. So it's a win-win-win, right? And this is also a rhyme. Very poor rhyme, but still somehow it is, right? It's Thursday afternoon. What do you want, you bigots, right? Smash the fucking like button. And speaking of which, on readytoperform.com, we have the public speaking section, of course. But on readytoperform.com, we have something called the discovery session. So let's say you're a writer and you're fletching out your script, and before you want to kind of show this to a network or anything else, you have your second or your third draft. And you start feeling like you want to add something to it. You want a B reader to go through this material. You want your material to be audited, improved. We have a very special way of doing that. Like I work a lot, but with visuals, and so when we audit screenplays, monologues, stand-ups, all sorts of presentations, we give you like a whole portfolio back. And based on that, you will have so much information also for the future, for all your future writing endeavors. And right now, we're in the process of kind of, working with a director who's also writing his movie. And it's such a fun process. It's so beautiful. It's just, it adds so much. And this is also something that we did back then. I think one of the reasons we're seeing these reshoots in Hollywood is because the material is poorly edited. It's just not finished. You can clearly tell by the movies themselves, but also us as acting coaches. I can't disclose too much, right? And this is not just the kind of being cocky here. I just can't disclose too much because otherwise I'm really in trouble, guys. But believe me, there's an increasing number of screenplays of movies that are being shot in Hollywood, where a lot of my clients are also part of. And we're also talking about big budget productions that at the point where principal photography starts, don't have a script. Like they don't. And that's, of course, that leads into catastrophe. Now, back in the days, that would occur as well, right? You would have had projects sometimes that would start. Apocalypse Now is a really good example for that, where the script wasn't really there, right, when everything starts. But it was so clear from the setup, from the people that were involved, but also from the artistic direction, that it was clear where this whole thing was going, and that many parts of the development of the feature consisted in giving actors the space to improvise. Kubrick was famously doing that as well, and creating, based on that improv, creating new scenes and maybe also new plot lines. So yes, in the past, this has happened as well, that famous productions, big budget movies and all that, were starting with their principal photography, even though there was actually no script at hand. But the situation was completely different in terms of the creative direction. Nowadays, we have big budget productions starting with their principal photography, scripts not being ready or not even there in the first place, and a creative direction that is inconsistent, that is not a creative direction. So when you have that, you have the trinity of darkness, right? That is the void, that is the black hole where all these movies are being sucked in. And this is why we're seeing all these reshoots, where we have multiple directors coming on set, shooting a couple of weeks, not being okay with the creative production notes, whatever they're getting, maybe involved in other projects, you know, multiple movies being shot at the same time, reshoots being shot at the same time, where a director needs to go from one set to the other to make reshoots, to take reshoots from a movie that was already closed in terms of principal photography. It's just a mess. And then you get to the point where you don't know what you're shooting anymore, because there is no compass, there is no compass rose, there is no Polaris anymore. This is also one reason we're starting with principal photography on many movies, on big budget movies, where we don't actually have a full-fledged script available, and where creative direction is not effective, is not substantial. It's just not there, right? It's a way of programming catastrophe, and rarely this goes into ending well, right? We have movie productions famously like Mission Impossible, due to the C virus, right? We had to change schedule and kind of reshoot scenes and kind of adjust the plot because of things that we were saying. And nonetheless, the movie was working. But this is an action movie. It's relatively easy to plot an action spy movie. You need a MacGuffin, you need spies, you need some intrigue, you need someone who kind of, you know, flickers back and forth from good to bad, from bad to good, and you need to figure out who's good and who's bad. And then in the end, you have your movie. But in what matters, if you look at a James Bond movie, and you look at a modern action movie, let's say, I don't know, Mr. The Gray, something like that, or Six Underground, right? Today, these movies, they feel very random and interchangeable, right? Fast and Furious, all these movies, they feel like, okay, this could have been from another movie, or that action scene, I saw that already. A lot of stuff is programmed and not creatively directed. Why? Because of laziness, because of the problems, because of how studios want to play it safe. But the problem here, again, if you don't focus on the characters, if you don't focus on great dialogues, if you don't focus on writing in certain scenes to really flesh out what's human, authentic, realistic, impactful, and recognizable about the character, about your star in the show, if you take him on a leash and ridicule and humiliate him and demasculinize him and you know, feminize him throughout, right? And then as a counter effect, you don't even have a proper story and not an effective creative direction, then you have tragedy. Then you have reshoots all over the place, you have chaos on set, you have complete confusion of the narrative, and you have movies that are just flopping. Even if they want to twist and turn the numbers, in the end, these movies are bombing at the box office badly. Yes. Already liked and funneled. Unfortunately, the like button slept back out. No, it does that? Okay, it's incredible. I'm now stunned and wobbling around in a daze. All these like buttons are fighting back. That's incredible. Despite that it's double-edged sword, depending which YouTuber will cause a positive effect to the culture, which you will cause a negative. You know, it's always what you see out of it. Of course, I mean, yeah, you can be positive or negative. It's who's the fool? The fool or the one who walks with the fool? It's your choice as a consumer, right? Whether you like to believe the narrative, like to drink the Kool-Aid, like to go with the narrative or not, right? YouTubers can say something negative and you can still comment something positive and still try to make something good out of it, right? Or you like to go with the negative stream, which for a while is also okay, until you realize, hey, what am I doing here, right? I don't want to live this negative life. I don't want to be negatively charged throughout my existence. I want to be a positively charged human being. And so therefore you will flip the narrative automatically for yourself. Yes, there are. Of course, there are disingenuous YouTubers. There are always black sheeps, but it's not about that, right? It's not about guns. It's about who uses the guns. So Vincica says, oh, I love your conversation. It's good to be a guest at your conversation here on my channel. Don't worry, just go on, talk. You want to drink, guys? You need some chips? Oh, nice. 2112. What a number. 2121. Oh, 2112. Interesting number, right? And there's a beautiful sunset in the UK. Thank you for sharing. Maybe, you know, this is the dawn of this is the dusk of a new dawn that will change something for generations to come. You never know which sunset, you know, is the one. Yeah, I feel that YouTubers are important now. Why? Because YouTube is a search engine, especially now. Yes, even the good and the bad ones. Future generations, 100 years from now, will look at the voices from the past. Yes, it's similar like to the Time Machine, right? When Charlton Heston gets into the secret, it's very interesting. And to that cave and the two rings tell him the story, right? It's in a cave. It's rock. It's from the underground world, right? I would love to kind of show you right now what I've received as a message, but I better not do that. You may learn something from the fool as long as you don't. Exactly. Yes. And fools, old people, drunks, and kids, they always tell the truth. The intimate comment. Yes, for sure. Guys, I love your comments. I love the chat right now. It's on fire. Everybody out there, right? You are missing on something. You're missing out on something truly tantalizing and funny. I mean, this is how a chat should look like. I wish we could be more, but I'm truly grateful for the ones that we are right now. But just remember, every Thursday, it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know you're used to the 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time pattern, but just on Thursday, because usually we run on events on Thursday, and it's a hot day also for clients, and so therefore we have to anticipate our show. But guys, stick with us, right? Learn from the new pattern, be with us, and join us here on YouTube if you get the chance, and have a great conversation with us here. But I want to thank you, everybody, for coming out. It's been, I think, a very interesting episode today. Today I didn't show any, even though it's an open class doodle, I didn't show any tactical doodles for success, because I think we know exactly what the problem is in terms of numbers, right? I don't need to show you numbers in order to exemplify what I'm saying. We hear and see the news every day. We know exactly that there is something inherently wrong and broken with the system, how it works today. Definitely, there's new entertainment coming out of YouTube. There's new entertainment coming out of all these streaming services, right? Where it's Twitch and Rumble and Kick and whatever and whatnot. And there's, of course, also some bad content, some fools, going around. But I feel more safe in a space where it's actually more or less okay to say whatever you want to say, and kind of give people the chance to argue with you, and where people react to the desires of the fan base that you are giving, where we're going, what we're saying, what we're creating. Because like this, it becomes a collaboration, a creative collaboration. Everybody wins, everybody gets something out of that. And that is how you appreciate art, right? You go to a museum because you want to get inspired, not because you want to get preached or you want to get educated necessarily. Education happens you reflecting about your experience. There is no way of telling someone this is the way it is, and then you have to accept it. And from now on, this will be your new standard, the new paradigm, the new status quo of yours. That's not how human beings work. They accept it only after they made their own experiences, after they reflected on their past, on their mistakes, on their failures, on their successes, why something has worked and why not. And taking all the constructive criticism, all the input, all the feedback in, elaborating what works, discard the useless, use the useful, and then just go with it until you hit the next threshold, till you hit the next boulder. Yes, this is how art works. It's an up and down. Guess what? It's life, right? Life sucks sometimes, but This is the only way we learn. This is the only way we improve. If you want to take this out of the equation, you will have reshoots, remakes, reboots, re-sequels, pre-sequels of the pre-boot, of the reboot. It doesn't make sense, because you can spread gold only so thin. At a certain point, it will crack, and it's not cracking anymore. It's basically it's fragmented, right? It's already kind of cracked up on all ends. We need to kind of bring the good stuff together, save the core, melt it into a new product, and appreciate that. And if it doesn't happen in Hollywood, it will happen over here, or it will happen somewhere else. I'm very positive about the future. And if I'm looking at present, developments like I'm doing today, what I'm seeing is I'm not a doomsday prophet. I'm not doing this to spread negativity. This is actually a good sign, because when everybody's complaining, when there's blood on the street, you should buy. When there's blood on the street, you should seize the opportunity. When everybody is complaining, you should bring a new product. This is the best time to create something new. This is why we're making the show, to remind you that every day is worth living to the fullest, and to bring your very best product to the table every time you can, especially when we're hearing the term crisis, flops, bombs, bad reviews, negative feedback, and poor box office sales. When we hear stuff like that, this is the time to intervene. Then when times are good again, and we have maybe participated and contributed to the better times, remember the cycle, right? Like, terrible times, they create strong men. Strong men will create, good times. Good times will create weak men. Weak men will create terrible times, and then terrible times will create strong men. So we are in terrible times. So we are strong men. So therefore, our mission is to serve. Serve well, guys. Serve your purpose well. Whatever your creative purpose is, invest in your product right now. This is the best time to invest, when everybody is complaining. Create new empires. Look at history, what we usually do on a Tuesday. When these great empires have been created, industrial empires like the Rockefellers, like the Flaggers, like Standard Oil, like the Rothschilds, they were all coming out of Vanderbilts. All these, the Gettys. The more you have, the more you can call them. The Fords, all these industrial captains that went to superstar status and became billionaires and created these huge industrial empires that are still, here today. They've been created in times of hardmanship. They've been created in a time of deep crisis, confusion, and where everybody was disoriented. Whether that was after the war or shortly before the war, ding dong, or in times where, we kind of had to face social upheavals, whatever that was. So this is actually good. What I'm telling you right now is seize this opportunity. I'm not here because I'm enjoying the fact that Hollywood is losing its Polaris. I'm not here because I love movies. I'm an actor. I'm an acting coach. I love when scripts are coming in. I don't have any personal gratification. I don't get any personal gratification or satisfaction from the fact that Hollywood is basically reshooting everything on a daily basis, where this was considered like a voiceover, by the way, in the 80s and the 90s, a thing to not do. Why do you think we have so many voiceovers in movies? It's a lazy solution. This is something in film school everybody tells you to avoid if it's not really necessary. Like back in the days, voiceovers and reshoots and overextending your principal photography, that was an absolute no-go. You wouldn't get hired anymore after that, because these are lazy solutions, right? And why are we having voiceovers now all the time? Because it's a way of kind of gluing everything together instead of showing it. We are telling it. This is one of the biggest sins of movie making. Telling instead of showing. It's called show business for a reason. So show your guts, show your art, believe in your product, share this message, spread this beautiful channel. Come over to Saturday Night Hypnosis. See you next Tuesday with 3 Sages and a time machine with an incredible episode, guys. Myth of Atlantis right now is our biggest show that we launched on last Tuesday. Make sure to check it out. And also, next open class doodles is going to happen on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know the pattern is a bit weird. It's just Thursday, it's 3 p.m. You get used to it. I hope, I'm sure. Let's see. We find a compromise. So far, this is the only way it's working for me if I want to go live 3 times a week. And if we want to kind of keep this past, present, future type of pattern, because I love to be here with you guys at least 3 times a week. So let's make it happen all together. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you, Mephisto. God bless you, John Doe, Reverend Ravenwolf, Vinsinger. Check us out also on Tangent King podcast on Saturday with Reverend Ravenwolf, Dragon Slayer commentaries, Ryan Roger, Athe, the rest of the band. Thank you, Laura, for coming out. Thank you for everybody showing up today. You guys been a blessing. Thank you so much. Smash the like button. Thank you to the Twitter crowd, the Instagram crowd. See you next Monday with the next open class doodles, right? It's down here, right. And love you guys. Thank you so much for showing up. I believe now, yes, you're ready to perform.